What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the German Bear Podcast. And today is all about the ongoing offensive coordinator search of the Chicago Bears and my top 3 candidates that I want to see calling the plays for the Bears offense moving forward in the upcoming 2024 season. The Chicago Bears have already interviewed tons of guys for their open offensive coordinator spots under the staff of Matt Eberflus, and today is all about my top 3 candidates that I would like to see calling the plays moving forward for the Bears for the best potential outcome in the next couple of years to be a playoff contending team. And yeah, super excited for this upcoming episode right here. It's definitely something very important for the Chicago Bears. Obviously, the defense will be in check with Matt Eberflus still being there, but the offense really needs to take a step forward because we're going to have good weapons in 2024 if we add on, or if Ryan Poles adds on to the already existing talent on offense. And despite the fact that we have somewhat of a QB controversy here with not knowing if Justin Fields is going to be under the helmet or Caleb Williams being picked here with potentially the first overall pick in 2024, we still are in a pretty good situation, and we need a good hire here at offensive coordinator to maximize the talent on the roster. So with that being said, there's lots of good options on the table, and here's my top 3, starting off with my number 3 candidate on today's list, which is Cliff Kingsbury. And I know Cliff Kingsbury is not the most popular option among the offensive coordinators that were brought in so far, or potential offensive coordinators, but for me, he certainly makes sense, especially in one scenario, and this is if the Chicago Bears are totally locked in on Caleb Williams. Why is that the case? For the people that don't know, Cliff Kingsbury went back to college coaching at USC and having a close look at Caleb Williams, so he obviously already knows his skill set and how to utilize that. But I think in general, Cliff Kingsbury would not be the worst hire overall, and this is why. First of all, starting off with his coaching history, he has lots of experience. He was for a long time the head coach of Texas Tech, obviously having Patrick Mahomes there and helping to develop this young player who turned into the best quarterback in the NFL nowadays. And then he got a shot at an NFL head coaching job with the Arizona Cardinals for 4-year coach from 2019 to 2022. And then his last but was, as I said, the quarterbacks coach at USC, helping one of the most talented quarterbacks coming out of the draft over the last couple of years in Caleb Williams. Now, here's a couple of things to consider, especially with his stint with the Arizona Cardinals, which most people refer to as not successful, and I, to a certain degree, definitely agree to that, but a couple of things to consider with his Arizona stint. First and foremost, he had Kyler Murray at quarterback and helped him to a Offensive Rookie of the Year season in his first year as a head coach, and also helped him to turn into a 2-time Pro Bowl quarterback and had a couple of successful seasons with the Arizona Cardinals. He went twice 500 or better in his 4 seasons with the Cardinals and never dropped under 20 points per game over a season. When we're looking at these stats a little bit closer, in 2020, his second season as a head coach, he had 25.6 points per game, which ranked 13th in the NFL. And then in 2021, he upped that to 26.4 points per game, which ranked 11th in the NFL in 2021. And in his last season in 2022, that dropped down to 20 points per game. But there's a couple of things that need to be taken into account as well. First of all, Kyler Murray tore his ACL, so for the rest of the year, he had to work with backups. And also, he had a very bad defense there under Vance Joseph as his defensive coordinator, ranking 31st in points allowed per game on defense. So obviously there's a couple of things that went wrong in 2022, and I'm not saying that Cliff Kingsbury is completely out of the conversation for why that season went downhill, but it's a couple of factors that needs to be taken into account. Now, if Cliff Kingsbury actually takes over as the Chicago Bears offensive coordinator, here is the style of offense that he's going to bring. Looking at his most successful 11-6 season with the Cardinals in 2021, it was a season where they used a lot of play action. 30.2% of all the dropbacks for the Arizona Cardinals quarterbacks were play action passes. As for the run game, they were a very zone heavy run scheme, so this is something that the Chicago Bears players are already used to. Bears were a zone heavy run scheme offense as well last year, and Cliff Kingsbury would definitely bring that to the Bears as well, and especially for the offensive line, that's something great because we have players that can definitely succeed in a zone run heavy offensive scheme. So why is Cliff Kingsbury, for me, honestly, a good candidate for the Chicago Bears to pursue in this OC search? First and foremost, he has experience with quarterback development. Names like Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Gordon, and Caleb Williams are all big factors that will pop up on his resume. Also, he has experience. I mean, he's been a head coach in the NFL, a play caller in the NFL, a play caller in college at some good institutions. So that's obviously a big benefit. And then if the Chicago Bears decide to draft Caleb Williams and are locked on him, he knows him. He knows how to utilize him. He knows him as well. Like Caleb knows Cliff Kingsbury too, so there's familiarity with him. And it would be just a smoother transition into the NFL for the young quarterback. And then lastly, he can now fully focus on offense. Obviously, at Arizona, he was a head coach that called plays. So there's a lot of things going on managing a team in that way. So now with the Chicago Bears, he will be provided the chance to fully focus on an offense, be a full-time offensive coordinator. And we know it. In so many cases, there's great offensive coordinators that fail as head coaches because it's just such a big leap from being a sole coordinator to managing a whole team. So we don't know if he's a great offensive coordinator in this league, but he definitely showed flashes and had some successful seasons even as a head coach. So I think if he gets the opportunity to fully focus on one thing, which is just getting the ball into the end zone, I think he would be actually not a bad candidate. And that's why he is my number 3 spot right here. Now, moving on in the top 3 to my number 2 spot, the second best option for the Chicago Bears, for me personally moving forward, would be Clint Kubiak. And Clint Kubiak, obviously son of former NFL legendary coach Gary Kubiak, is a really nice option for the Bears here too. And I think it doesn't matter that much who the quarterback is going to be for that scenario. If the Bears hire Cliff Kingsbury, you can be pretty sure that it's going to be Caleb Williams with the first overall pick. But right here with Clint Kubiak, I think it doesn't matter that much. And the big aspect here with Kubiak is obviously that he is the candidate in this OC search that is from the Shanahan-Kubiak tree, which is such a successful tree overall and runs just a very modern offense overall. As for his coaching history, the most important stints, he had some stints with the Minnesota Vikings overall, but the most important ones were that he was a quarterbacks coach from 2019 to 2020 for 2 seasons before he took over the offensive coordinator spot in 2021 with Mike Zimmer's last season at the Minnesota Vikings head coaching position. Then he moved on to be the quarterbacks and passing game coordinator for the Denver Broncos with the first season of Russell Wilson under Nathaniel Hackett. And we all know that didn't go too well that season of 2022 for the Broncos, but that was definitely more of a head coaching problem, I believe. And then in 2023, this still ongoing season, he is the 49ers passing game coordinator under Kyle Shanahan, obviously learning a lot and being a part of a great offense there too. Now, a couple of things to consider with Clint Kubiak as the Vikings offensive coordinator in 2021. For the passing game, he was pretty much also very much a friend of play action, which is obviously great because play action is always fun. He used 25.9% of his dropbacks. He used play action. And then in the running style, he was very zone heavy, obviously coming from the Kyle Shanahan tree that was to be expected. As for the offensive rank under him in 2021, they scored 25 points per game, which ranked 14th in the NFL that year, which is for a first-time play caller and offensive coordinator in the league, really good statistics. As for the current season for the San Francisco 49ers, he was part of one of the most explosive passing offenses in the NFL. They rank 3rd in points scored on average per game in the NFL and are the number 1 offense in yards gained per attempt with 8.4 net yards per attempt. So that's obviously something big as well. So why is Clint Kubiak a great option here for the offensive coordinator spot for the Chicago Bears? First of all, as I said, he is a candidate that is from the Kubiak-Shanahan tree. He's well respected around the league and a guy that's definitely on the rise. And lastly, he has calling experience still before with the Minnesota Vikings and was part of that great offense or still ongoing season offense from the San Francisco 49ers. So I would really love Clint Kubiak, and he will probably be a candidate that will stay a couple of seasons until he pursues a head coaching job because he just needs to get into the OC role once again. But you never know. Maybe it's only 1 season, but whatever it takes, Clint Kubiak would be a great choice for the upcoming season for the Chicago Bears. And that leads us to the number 1 spot, my favorite offensive coordinator candidate that the Chicago Bears have interviewed so far and have as an option, and that is Shane Waldron. And Shane Waldron, as I said, is my favorite option so far for the Chicago Bears. One thing, though, for me is that he would probably not be here for too long, maybe 1 or 2 seasons as the offensive coordinator, because he's a very well-respected guy already in the league. And if the Seattle Seahawks performed a little bit better this season, he would probably already have a couple of head coaching interviews going on. But right now, it looks like he's still an offensive coordinator candidate rather than a head coach candidate, which is great for the Bears because Shane Waldron would be a phenomenal option. And as Clint Kubiak was the Shanahan tree candidate, with Shane Waldron, we got the Sean McVay tree candidate, which is obviously another coaching tree that offers a lot of great coaches and just a great scheme overall. Now, for Shane Waldron's history, keeping it relatively short with him because he has a pretty strong resume. From 2018 to 2020, for 3 seasons, he was the passing game coordinator for the LA Rams. And then for the last 3 seasons, from 2021 till this year, 2023, he was the offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks. And what can he bring to the Chicago Bears potentially, and things to consider for him? With his stint for the LA Rams, he was twice in the playoffs, one time in the Super Bowl, obviously losing to Tom Brady and the Patriots. In 2018, that Super Bowl run season, they scored 32.9 points per game, which is insane, which only ranked second in the league that year. 2019, following that up, they ranked with 24.9 points per game, 11th in the league. And then in 2020, the last year for Jared Goff with the Rams, they had 23.3 points per game, and they ranked 22nd in the league. Now, those years, they were very zone reliant in the run game. And when we look at his time in Seattle as an OC, that didn't change too much. His first season, though, with the Seattle Seahawks, he had Russell Wilson still as a quarterback. They scored 23.2 points per game, which ranked 16th in the league. They had a 29.1 percentage of play action usage, so he also loves to use play action. And they were, like I said, also very zone reliant on offense. And then for the next couple of years now in his career as the OC for the Seahawks, he had Geno Smith, which is obviously a big factor for him as an OC too. In 2022, he had 23.9 points per game, which ranked 9th in the league, so an improvement there for him and his offense. And he was part of one of the more explosive offenses in the league that year too. They ranked top 10 in pass net yards per attempt with 6.4, which ranked exactly 10th. And once again, very zone reliant on offense. And then for 2023, just this still ongoing season, they scored 21.4 points per game, which ranked 17th in the league. And they were still one of the more explosive passing games in the league, with still 6.4 net yards per attempt, which this year still ranks as the top 11th offense in the league. And once again, they were more zone than gap heavy on run offense. So why is Shane Waldron my favorite candidate so far? First of all, because he's from the Sean McVay tree, and that's just a very modern offense with lots of motions, just pre-recognizing coverage and using that to the advantage, just getting your playmakers open. And he definitely knows how to put his playmakers into good positions there with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. He had a couple of good playmakers, and he definitely got the most out of those players, especially in 2022. He did have success before with his stint with the Rams and also with his stint with the Seattle Seahawks, and he helped to rescue Geno Smith's career, which is obviously a big aspect in his resume as well, helping him to get a 30-touchdown season in 2022, and he was also pretty solid in 2023 for the Seattle Seahawks. So with that being said, those are my top 3 candidates that I would like to see as a play caller for the Chicago Bears in 2024. And with that being said, that's the end of the episode, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. Definitely let me know in the comments down below what your favorite offensive coordinator candidate is for the Chicago Bears for 2024. Like and subscribe if you liked the video. Check out Instagram and Twitter if you want to as well. And as always, guys, bear down.